So as an introduction for myself, I'm Dave Werner. I'm president of Park Bank here in Milwaukee. And I'm also co-chair for Scale Up Milwaukee, tonight's host for this event. My co-chair, Jerry Jandusa, former owner of M-Tech, a very fast growth, scale-up type company that was sold about a year or two ago, wasn't able to be here tonight, but he sends his regards. Now, I agreed to be co-chair of Scale Up Milwaukee after I met a Scalerator 1 participant a little more than a year or two ago. Scalerator is a program that we have with Scale Up Milwaukee. In fact, are there any Scalerator participants in the room right now? Raise your hand, please. There's one back here, one in the front here. We had 27 companies locally go through the Scalerator program, which is a program developed and provided through Scale Up Milwaukee. I had actually gone to a session completely unrelated to Scalerator, but had met a Scalerator 1 participant, and he was talking about a problem he had, that he was growing fast and plans to grow faster, but it was creating problems for him. Now, those are the type of problems myself as a banker loves to solve. It means opportunity. So then I went from there, it piqued my interest, and I went and attended a Scalerator session that was being held with these number of companies and some instructors from Babson College. And in there I was hearing stories about planned growth, energizing and building your business and having plans for where we can go from here and have exportable products. And that really was intriguing. It's changing the mindset of company owners and changing the culture of Milwaukee into a real can-do. This is a place to do business because we can help you grow your company. The Scale Up Milwaukee, and I mentioned, has now had 27 Scalerator graduates so far, representing over $85 million in total revenues. It talks about accelerated growth. These companies, their median planned growth is for 25% per annum. That's been multiplied with their going through the program. These companies have acquired over 460 new customers since October of 2015. One company, when they were there talking about things, they added one customer who's going to double their revenues in 1 year. They were willing to take this on. Before they were, how do we do this? They welcomed it, and we're going to be excited to take that on. We're getting prepared to launch Scalerator 3.0, the third session that's coming up soon. And we're really looking for those companies that have leadership that is looking with the mindset that they do want to grow. And we've got the resources to help make that happen. So if any of you here own your own company or are part of a company like that, we'd welcome your application, or if there's others that you're aware of, we'd love to hear back from you at Scale Up Milwaukee to get you materials to get you signed up as well. Scale Up Milwaukee is beyond Scalerator. It's not Scalerator alone. We're doing a number of other things within the community. We're also getting national and international recognition for what we're doing in building this ecosystem in Milwaukee, working with the universities, working with state government, WEDC. Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish has been a strong supporter and been at some of the events, including Scalerator. The intent is to change the mindset and the culture and get everybody together to help make this ecosystem work. And it's been referenced. There's now a Scale Up Kansas City. There's a Scale Up Europe. There's been groups from Italy and Brazil in Milwaukee recently just to see what we're doing here. So Milwaukee is getting a reputation out there. And we're thrilled with that, but we've got a lot more to do. One of the other events we're doing with Scale Up Milwaukee is what you're here to see tonight. Program with Meet the Masters. And I'm really thrilled tonight to be able to introduce the master, one of our great masters, and I truly believe that in entrepreneurship here in Milwaukee, Shel Lubar. It was Shel's impetus to go out to Babson College and met with Dan Isenberg, and the seeds were planted for Scale Up and bringing it back here to Milwaukee. And I think that's exciting. So truly a founder of what we're doing. So with a round of applause, let's thank and welcome Shel Lubar.
So I'm Dan Isenberg. We might be able to do away with the mic.
I think we'll have problems with Shel. His voice doesn't.
Okay, thank you, George. Good. I want to start off by, this is going to be, You're going to take that sitting down? This is going to be a conversation. We'll start it off, but I invite people to join in as quickly as possible with comments and questions. I'll keep them short, and I will moderate. Moderation is not a democracy. And we are going to end at 6:15. Let me read you, just to get us started. You all know the Milwaukee Brewers, and you all know probably Lake Express, but I'm going to read you and ask you very honestly to raise your hand if you've heard of this company. American Pasteurization, Approach Resources, Chem Design, M-Link, don't see many hands, Drill Tech, couple, Erdman, Healthcare, same hand keeps going up. Sunrise Coal, Petro Santander, Rockland Flooring, Shared Imaging, Star Gas, no, and Zero Zone. So I saw a total of 10 hands, roughly. So my first started is these companies are growing, and I call Shel as I did research on this. This is Warren Buffett of Wisconsin. Why so quiet?
Well, first, as a matter of disclosure, I have my truth squad here. My son David, and David Bauer, Vince Shealy, and David Keel. So I know that if I get off base on anything, they're going to stand and correct. We're not looking for publicity, and I guess that's all I can tell you. I mean,
what are you
I'm
looking
an
for?
Open book. If you ask me any question, I'm going to give you the answer. I have no hidden issues that I have to cover up, and I'm quite proud of what we've done, and I'm quite proud of what we've done for the city. I was at the Scalerator meeting before this, and a lot of the conversation was, it's not just about building a business, it's about creating jobs, it's about creating wealth in Milwaukee and more activity, and I'm very proud of what our business activities have done for this area.
So this is from the website. The Truth Squad can tell me if the website is accurate. They invest in companies. So they grow companies. These companies are all companies that grow significantly. Maybe not all of them. And we'll ask about some of the mistakes and let's say failures. But revenues of 30 million or more, EBITDA around 20% roughly, enterprise values from 20 to 200 million, and in the Midwest area from Great Lakes to Texas. So my understanding is that's what you do, and you do it in all industries, whether it's supply chain, energy, food, transportation, healthcare, finance, leather, machinery. Give us an example, Shel, of success that you've had, and you know that I'm going to ask later about the others.
Well, almost all of our companies are all successful. I mean, we're very much in the energy world, and that's where I've concentrated my efforts. And you can't be in the energy world at this moment and see your revenues decline by 50% and say all is well. However, I've gone through this once before, 1982 to 1990, and it is in the worst of times that great companies are built. And
why is that, by the way? Other people have said that.
Well, for one reason, I know one of my first investments, when I was alone, I teamed up with a man who was the vice president of a company called the Gray Wolf Drilling Company, headquartered in Lafayette, Louisiana. And we had 5 rigs, and they were in the process of buying a 6th. And this was deep drilling, dangerous drilling, 10,000 feet or more, where you encounter very high pressures, very high temperatures. And I characterize our success, and we were a contract driller, so we did not, we charged by the day, And whether we made a well or didn't, it didn't change our income. But
Wait.
in those
1
days,
second. Keep talking. You're doing great, but I'll figure out how to turn this on.
but you want to turn me off.
No. I think that's impossible, Shel. So
Well, anyway.
here we go.
If we hit in 1 out of 10 wells, we really thought we were successful. Today, we're invested in a company called Approach Resources, which operates, you probably heard of the shale oil and gas. They're in the biggest shale play in the world, which is the Midland Basin of Texas. And we're in the Permian side of that. But I asked the president, Ross Kraft, I said, what's our rate of well completions? He said, what do you mean? I said, we're drilling a lot of wells. What percentage are we hitting? He said, we drilled 101 wells last year and we made 100. That's the difference from the early 1980s to 2015. The technology, the knowledge, the seismic development, the new rigs and horizontal drilling, it's changed so dramatically that one can hardly believe it.
Now, Shel, so why, if starting in a recession is a good place to start a business that grows?
So thank you for putting me back on course. Grey Wolf had 5 rigs and we finished and bought a 6th. Then the real depression hit. And in Houston alone, 300,000 people were out of work. And a depression in the energy industry there means a depression in everything. Restaurants, whatever it was. And we bought about 15 rigs at maybe 2 and 3 cents on the dollar. We were one of 2 or 3 contract drillers that didn't go bankrupt. And actually, the owners didn't go bankrupt because the banks took them over and continued drilling unsuccessfully and ultimately decided they wanted to get out of the business. So in a distress, you're buying assets very cheaply.
So is that it? So what everyone says about the Kauffman Foundation, everyone says all these great businesses were started in a recession. It's just a question of buying low and selling high, or primarily a question.
That's part of it, and my colleagues here will tell you that my answer to every question about business is one word: management.
So you've coined a word that called professional ownership. Can you say give us sort of the highlights? What is professional? Did I get that right? What is professional ownership? It's trademarked.
This is my only preparation.
I can tell you what it is if you want.
I don't want to misstate one word of this because it's really important. If I leave you with any thought, I want to leave you with this one. And since this is kind of informal, I'm going to tell you about this. In the early 1960s, I collaborated with a friend and mentor to define and ultimately implement a business strategy we called professional ownership. This strategy was an outgrowth of my experiences establishing and managing Marine Capital Corporation, a small business investment company under the 1958 Banking Act. Marine was sponsored by the Marine Corporation, a Milwaukee-based bank holding company, of which I was an officer. It's now called J.P. Morgan Chase. The concept was based on the inability of ownership to interact, to deal with the boards of directors of their companies, whether it involved setting goals, monitoring the performance of management, truly understanding the business of the company and the impact of conditions outside of their control. The voice of ownership was not heard. It must be remembered that, and this is critical, in the case of small business ownership, the board, if there is one, and management were usually the same. The object of most of these small businesses was mostly to fund the lifestyle of the CEO, who was usually the controlling shareholder. In other words, their objective wasn't to build a bigger and greater company. It wasn't to do any of the social things that you're talking about, that we were talking about earlier. It was about funding a good lifestyle for themselves and their family. However, our objectives all centered on building the business into an ever more sound and profitable enterprise. Over the years, Lubar and Company, our colleagues here and our family, has built its equity base by practicing professional ownership. I can tell you that our transparent motivation and business experience has produced success. In addition to being investors, we consider ourselves coaches, counselors, and cheerleaders. We seek to unite the objectives of shareholders, employees, and management, and have all of us succeed together. And that's what professional ownership is.
So the key words for me that I take at ambition, strong management and motivation to build a business, to grow. That's what I got off your website. And that you provide the resources, not just the financial resources, but you help provide the management and organizational and other resources. Is that accurate, Truth Squad?
We help establish the long-term goals with the management team. So together, collaboratively, we set long-term goals and then go through a strategic planning process on how to achieve those goals.
So it's building a platform for growth that has different aspects to it. It's management, it's strategy, it's finance.
There is regular accountability. What are we achieving? What needs to change? What are the problems? How do we overcome these problems?
How do you know when to sell?
We don't sell. We sell.
This has gone off again. We're going to need your help on this. This keeps going.
Well, I'll just speak louder. Can you hear me back there?
Okay, we're okay for now.
The first business that I acquired, and I was alone at that time, and I practiced professional ownership. I think I personally visited the company, which was in my office at I think I was at First Wisconsin Bank at this time. My office was I could see the plant, but I think in 5 years I visited it 3 times.
There's still a request for the microphone.
But I was on the phone with the man we made that I made the CEO every day almost, and we worked together. And
give me the mic. It keeps getting turned off. It's not working. Something's wrong. Keep going. Now I know why you don't invest in technology companies. Just sit here and just keep going.
I'm trying to think of where I was.
The first one of the first companies that.
Yes.
It's about selling.
Oh, yeah, it was about selling.
And you said you don't
But we
sell?
built, this company was tripled. You know, this is an aside, but the company was financed by bringing in 2 insurance companies who ended up owning about 35% of the company, in addition to making subordinated loans, and the First National Bank of Boston. These are 2 in Massachusetts. So I have a warm spot in my heart for your home.
It's not just because we have the same weather as you do.
Yeah. But we tripled the size of that company in 3 years, in 5 years, excuse me. And I characterize it as like, it was like pulling the cork out of a bottle. There was so much pent-up energy in this company. And the company, the person we bought it from was a lovely man. And he was approximately 45 years old, played the guitar. His girlfriend was a cheerleader for the Green Bay Packers, and he loved to be up north and just have a great time. And he felt, here I have this company and I'm on paper wealthy, but I don't have any money. So anyway, we bought it from him, and I made the number 2 man the president, and I was the chairman and CEO, and they proceeded to develop new products. We developed the first medical monitoring board that went into the emergency rooms of hospitals. And this is back in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And when we started, we were making electrical transformers. We were number 3. Number 1 was General Electric, number 2 was Westinghouse, number 3 was our company.
What was the name of the company? Was that Sorgel?
Sorgel.
Sorgel.
And ultimately, a company came to us, and you know, I had no liquidity at that time, and we worked out they acquired us for stock. I became a stockholder in Square D Company. And by that time, we had tripled the company.
So when you say we never sell,
that was when we sold.
You sold. So is it opportunistic? Is it opportunistic selling?
No, now we don't sell.
So
now our job is to invest.
And so of the, let's say, how many, 25 to 30 companies? Something like that, 20? You literally have only sold 1 or 2 or 3 of them?
That's right.
So
Well, it's not quite literally. When we say we don't sell, we don't.
can you hear? Okay, keep going,
We
Dave.
don't
Yeah.
invest and build a business with a strategy of selling. We invest with a strategy of continuing to own and continue to build. That doesn't mean that things don't happen where someone comes and makes an unsolicited offer, or the CEO wants to retire. In the past, when the CEO wanted to retire, our feeling was, well, we went into this together with the CEO, we built the company together. If he's retiring or she, you know, most likely we would sell. No longer
okay.
is that the case. We're large enough, our team is big enough, there's enough capabilities that we manage through succession plans with the CEO or certainly any other of the key senior management positions. But the main thing is, the mentality is to build the business
Value.
like you own it forever. And that gives you a whole different mindset than, I'm gonna own this for 3 years or 5 years and then figure out who can I sell it to. So we're not managing expenses to make a P&L look good, to make it look good to a potential buyer. It's what can we do to continue to build new products or develop new products, bring them to the market, increase revenues, increase profits.
So David and Shel, this is really long-term value creation.
We call it permanent. We say we
It sounds
are
like Buffett again. It sounds like what Berkshire had.
That's it.
I'm not saying you copied it from them, but it sounds similar.
Actually, I had a director who lent Warren Buffett, they knew each other at Columbia Business School, lent him his first
I'll hear it.
lent him his
Are we
first
okay?
$50,000. Yeah.
So I want to, again, please feel free to chime in. You've mentioned the team a few times, and actually I went to your website and I looked up the names and looked at the background of all the teams, the members of the team. And there's a lot of Marquette in there, a lot of UWM. I didn't see any Harvard. I didn't see any Columbia. I don't see any Stanford, not one.
You saw Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Vince Sheely is a graduate bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Notre Dame and a master's degree. Was your master's degree in nuclear engineering?
From where?
Notre Dame.
Marquette, see? So where do you...
from Marquette. That's where
See,
you went to high school.
Every one, if I'm not mistaken, every one of your professionals has at least one degree from a local school, if I'm not mistaken.
They all have at least 2 degrees.
But at least one from local, so why? I mean, you're investing in this in the Midwest, you're using your own money, you're using local talent, primarily local talent. What's the secret sauce here, and what's the rest of the world missing?
Well, I'll tell you what. You get out of school. I consider education, and my parents considered education their mission in life, to see that their children had a college education. I'm a product of public schools. Whitefish Bay High School, the University of Wisconsin. David is a product of
Bowdoin?
Shorewood High School.
Shorewood.
And Bowdoin.
And
So
education is
Shel.
essential, but you get out precisely what you put in.
Yeah, I went to University of Oregon, local school, but at least a state school, sorry. So it's really a question of motivation and raw sort of native intelligence, and not a question of the brand, et cetera. Do you think that this is a story that if it were told would be helpful in any way?
Well, I would hope so. And if you think back at this at the Scalerator meeting before this, I mean, I emphasized the importance of young people being educated in entrepreneurship and knowing that that's an alternative for them, a possibility. First college, then experience, then be your own boss. That leads to a happy, prosperous life, in my estimation.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the mistakes you've made?
Well, I'm going to have to think.
I just said a little bit.
Yeah.
But everyone's
We haven't
made
made
mistakes.
many,
You have to make
but
mistakes.
we made one in the last year. I'm not going to go into it. We bought the other half of a company at a price that we wouldn't have paid if we'd known that the price of oil was going to be half of what it was.
But that's easy. That's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
And-
The biggest mistakes you can make are on people, and I don't think we've made many mistakes there. I don't think David has made any, and you just have to change horses and go on.
So is it you say, I mean, I think there are very few people in your position who could look back at a history of, let's say, 30, 40 years in this framework, in Lubar and Company, and say they really haven't made too many mistakes, or at least you can't even think of a major mistake that you've made. What is it? Because I think the rule of thumb, by the way, is when you build a company, a third of your hiring decisions are mistakes. So your track record, at least according to what you're telling us, is way, way above the norm. So what is it? Is it intuition? Is it thoroughness? Is it just knowing the backgrounds of people?
It is every one of those things you mentioned, and it's being fair and honest with the people you're associated with. And you know, what I learned early on from my father was, Sheldon, money is not important. If you do a good job, you're going to get paid. And money has never been a motivator. The challenge has always been to build something you're proud of. And we have done some things in Milwaukee that I think that everybody in our company can be proud of.
Shel, let me ask you, as there are, not many people know this, there was a study done recently, there are over 3,000 companies in Wisconsin between 10 million and $1 billion in revenue. It's about 3,200 companies in Wisconsin. The market cap of the companies in this region, the public companies, is well in the $200 billion range, about twice the size of the entire economy. How do you see this continuing? Do you see yourselves continuing to focus on the Midwest, Great Lakes to Texas, or do you see yourselves ultimately broadening this model to other areas?
Well, for my taste, you know, to some extent we operate as a team, and to some extent we operate as individuals. But that's kind of the geographic area that we're comfortable with, that we know people. And we'll probably do that. I would like to see us focus more on those 3,000 companies here in Wisconsin that you're talking about. It's a lot easier. I mean, it's not easy, you know, I'd say the last 5 or 10 years, I operate a lot on the phone. I do board meetings. And we basically manage through the board of directors. That's how we function. And I generally do most of mine on the telephone, but it's not as effective as being there face to face.
By the way, questions or comments are still we're gonna just keep talking until hands go up. A lot of people in your situation, this is for Shel and David and the company as well, would have been investing by now in venture capital funds and making early stage angel investments, investing in startups, investing in information technology, investing in life sciences. You guys haven't done, as far as I know anyway, have you done this at all? And if not, why not? And
Yeah, so here, let me hijack this mic. So just on the question of mistakes, well, on the question of venture capital, we've made a lot of venture capital investments and almost all of them failed. So were they mistakes? You invest in unproven management, I guess you can call that a mistake. The company didn't survive. You invest in a product design that ultimately can't be manufactured for the price you expect. Or what happened most of the time, you invest in a business plan in which there really isn't demand for the product. So all of those were losses, and there were probably 10 or 12 of them. You can call those mistakes. It's a part of a big learning process, and it helped focus us on investing in existing businesses that have a management team, that have a product, that have customers, that have a plan, and how can we take a business that was 10 million and build it to 100 million, or 20 million and build it to 200 million. So that's the strategy. Now, one of the main ways we do that is being as knowledgeable as we can be. So it's not send us a monthly report and hopefully everything's good. The more we know, the more we can collaborate with the management team, and not just the CEO, but the head of sales, the head of operations, the head of product development, the CFO. I mean, these guys here, general counsel, main operations guy, CFO, This is the team approach now, and we are in constant contact with each of the companies we invest in to learn what is happening, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. We don't run these companies, but we are there supporting them, exchanging ideas, bringing resources. And it's not just the money resources. And that's the key to success, is being on top of it.
So I want to add into that.
Let me,
Wait, I see it. Shel, we have a hand coming up.
Well, I do think there was.
What's your name, please? So everyone.
My name is Tamika Williams. I own Royalty KO Media, and it's actually a professional development company because it speaks to a lot of what he's put a lot of emphasis on. Constantly wanting to learn and grow, and he just put a lot of emphasis on being collaborative. But as a smaller company, I just feel like, yes, you want to be collaborative, yes, you want to build your network, but it sounds like you have a core.
So what's the question?
So the question is, how did you establish that core? And I mean, you said you picked quality people and it was based on intuition, but is there any other, everyone has the best intuition.
Yeah.
How did you get?
Because your intuition is better than my intuition. It's a little bit of a little bit. When you dig deeper, give us some more meat. How do you make the choices in the team and in the company CEOs?
Right.
well, I'll tell you, the one thing I'd add to what David said, when I was running this marine capital, that was venture capital, and the rules of the small business investment company were that you couldn't have more than 49%. Unless the business was failing, then you could go in there. But our success has been with companies that we control. And we don't go, it's not that, and we don't take salaries, we reinvest everything. Everything is reinvested. I guess if we have some expenses, we charge them travel expenses or what have you.
But how do you make the right people decisions?
I think,
Let me ask you different, Shel. Let me ask, how should other people make the right people decisions?
well, if your decision is based on an interview and a resume, you have at best a 50-50 chance of making the right pick. So you have to know the people. And the way you can know the people is have them within your company and promote up. And that's what I would say. I mean, when you go outside, unless you have somebody who knows that individual, you're taking a big risk.
Have there been, it sounds like focusing in industries, focusing in geographical regions, knowing specific companies. I'm sure that when you do that, you can vet the people.
That helps, but we'll invest. We'd never invested in chemicals before, but Vince dug into it and learned about it and so forth, and talked to people and screened other people who knew these folks. So
So do you invest a lot in your HR department, or is it back to your management team?
well, we do use consultants.
Okay.
The management team, the investment team, does not have, as far as I know, an HR department.
Right.
But I'm sure that in the companies you invest in,
Oh, they do.
you must be helping them build good human resource departments. We just have a few more minutes, so really I urge questions or comments, questions preferably. I'm just going to keep going. Shel, I've gotten to know you about 2 or 3 years now, and David as well. I have to say, this is a kind of an intimate, you're a wonderful person. And I read the story about how you met your wife. I don't know if it's, I don't know, everything's on the internet. Be really careful. Everybody be really careful. He was waiting on tables and then was demoted to dishwasher, apparently. That's what it says anyway. Where does family values play a role here anywhere? You've got your son involved in the company, 11 grandkids, 4 children altogether, is that right?
Yes.
Where does family fit in?
Well, family is everything to me. And I want the record to be straight on this waiter stuff. Sure, I was a waiter, and I had a great
You were good at it.
social history as a result of it in this girls' dormitory. But then, then I met my wife, and they demoted me to the, not because I mean, we weren't married that quickly, but I was demoted to dishwashing, and that wasn't the end of it. I mean, they reduced me one more time to pots and pans. And now that you do want to avoid. But that was, we were both young. We were married in my last year in law school, and my wife was in her second year of college, and we immediately had 4 children the first 5 years we were married. Wow. And I think that was important to us. I mean, that was a real motivator. And I was always very proud of my family, and the idea of making it a cohesive family that would stick together was always a very important objective. And we have all stuck together.
And is the fact that you've been in Milwaukee more or less from the beginning, is that, I guess from the beginning, does that have anything to do with that?
Well, I think so. I was raised, born here and raised here, and I wanted to come back here. And it was hard to get a job when I got out of college, and I had a number of offers in Chicago, but I wanted to come back here.
So I will end this with just a final comment about great things being born in recessions or bad economic times. Shel just turned 86. He was born in 1929. So I think this is just another example of a great thing being born in an economic recession. Shel, we promise to keep this short. Thank you very much. We will, George.
Just ask him one last question. Ask him why he hasn't retired.
George
Your younger colleague is asking you why you haven't retired.
Because my motivation in life was independence.
Sorry.
I mean, I said that if somebody really dug deep in me, I mean, my desire was first to learn and then to be independent, to make the decisions myself and to do what I believed was right. And that's how I've conducted my life. And I've enjoyed every bit of it. So why would I change, George? I mean,
What you said once is you didn't like to play golf and you didn't want to spend your time visiting doctors.
Thank you all very much. It's been a wonderful experience, at least for me. There's an evaluation sheet on all of your chairs. Please fill it out. It helps us plan the next event. We are going to be planning and announcing additional Meet the Masters. Put down on the sheet who you'd like to hear from, and that'll help guide us where we go. But again, Shel Lubar and also David and the team, thank you very much for sharing. This is a rare thing. Maybe I don't know if it's the first time, Shel, but it's a rare event to have you come and tell us so much about what you've been doing. So again, thank you all very much.
Thank you.